بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد. We are continuing in the chapter in regards to leaving that which is doubtful and the advice that the Prophet ﷺ would give the Sahaba in regards to staying away from anything and everything that has even a bit of doubt in it. So the next hadith reported by Wasiba bin Ma'bad radiallahu anhu, he says, أتيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال جئت تسأل عن البر قلت نعم. He says, I came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and as I approached the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself asked me that, O Wasiba, you came to ask about what righteousness is. And he said, yes, O Prophet of Allah, that's exactly why I came, and that's exactly what I was going to ask you in regards to righteousness. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Istafti qalbak, ask your heart, meaning ask your heart what true righteousness is. And what the Prophet ﷺ here was doing was explaining to the Sahaba that the reality of the matter usually is in our heart itself. We know whether it's right or wrong. Our nafs will tell us whether what we're doing is right and what we're doing is wrong. And so the Prophet ﷺ told this Sahabi that ask your heart about what righteousness is. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-birru ma itma'annat ilayhi an-nafs wa itma'anna ilayhi al-qalb. Righteousness is that which your heart is happy with, meaning your heart and your nafs will be at ease with it. There isn't any disturbance, there isn't any caution or confusion or even a bit of doubt in your heart when there's something that's right and you know it's right, that your heart is at peace with it. وَالْإِثْمُ مَا حَاكَ فِي النَّفْسِ. And ithm, or a sin, is that which it causes a disturbance in your heart. It causes a worry, a confusion in your heart. There's some type of anxiety, some stress, some depression in your heart about committing a certain sin. وَتَرَدَّدَ فِي الصَّدْرِ. And it's something that it causes confusion in your heart about. So righteousness generally is that which your heart is happy with. And something you do or something maybe you're involved in, and it's continuously knocking your conscience. Am I doing it? Is it right? Is this wrong? And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said about doubt. Doubt, it's between halal and haram. Halal is clear, haram is clear. وَبَيْنَهُمَا مُشْتَبِهَاتٍ. In between the halal and haram, there's the doubtful things. If that doubtful thing is continuously knocking in your heart and telling you, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be eating this, or you know what, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be spending our money in this way. If it continues to tell you in your heart again and again, then you know this is something that's leaning towards haram. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, like we mentioned the other day in the hadith, Man waqa'a fi shubuhat waqa'a fil haram. A person who happens to find himself, in matters that are doubtful, eventually it will lead to haram. And I heard one of my teachers once said, he said, there was a time when the Sahaba and the pious predecessors, they would steer far away from anything doubtful. If there was anything doubtful, they would steer very far away from it. And the attitudes of most Muslims today is that if it's doubtful, we look for a way out, we look for a fatwa that says it's halal, or we beat around the bush. And he says, we don't steer away from the doubtful, but instead we're living in the doubtful. Everything we do, a majority of the things that we do, if it's doubtful, we say there's a possibility it's halal, so you know what, it's okay. So the attitudes, there's a shift in the attitudes, where the Sahaba and the Prophet ﷺ's teaching was, steer far away from the doubtful. If something's doubtful, stay away from it. And today, nowadays, or in some matters, we find ourselves, we live in the doubtful, and that becomes an excuse. Well, someone said it's okay, or you know what, I read it here or there. And in the next hadith reported by Hassan ibn Ali radiallahu anhu, he says, حَفِظْتُ مِنْ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. He was obviously a child at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he says, one thing I remember from my grandfather, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the saying, دَعْ مَا يُرِيبُكَ إِلَى مَا لَا يُرِيبُكَ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, meaning, أُتْرُكْ مَا تَشُكُّ فِيهِ. Leave anything that has doubt in it, وَخُذْ مَا لَا تَشُكُّ فِيهِ. And take whatever you know it's clear, it's halal, take it, whatever there's doubt in, leave it. And this was the prophetic advice of the Prophet ﷺ. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to act upon what has been said. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, to guide us, to keep us and our families away from all harm. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.